start, I want to welcome everyone to today's PrestoStats soccer training webinar. My name is Brad Seigan. I'm the Director of Marketing at Presto Sports. Today we're walking through PrestoStats soccer and showing how to run a match with it, start to finish, from logging in, setting up, live play entry, reports that go out after the final whistle. So follow along, you'll be able to stat a game A to Z with PrestoStats soccer. If you've ever used it before, or if you've ever used Stack Crew before, it's going to be very similar to things that you've used in the past. Just a reminder for those of you who have used it, and for those of you who haven't, heads up, PrestoStats products are all cloud-based. So when you get started setting up rosters and schedules, those all require an internet connection. We'll come back to we'll come back to what happens if you lose that internet connection during a game, because we can account for that. Before we get fully started and I introduce Kevin, a couple of housekeeping items. First, if you have any questions, please put that in the Q&A. We've disabled the chat, so you can put all of your questions in there. We'll get to those at the end of the presentation. Also, this webinar is being recorded. We will share it on our website, our YouTube channel, and we will put a post on Facebook after this is concluded. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin, who's going to walk you through PrestoStat Soccer. Kevin is a former SID. He's got a lot of great experience. And so, Kevin, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Let me just get the screen share going, get underway. All right. Can everyone see that?
Looks good.
All right, great. So obviously the first thing you want to do, because Brad said it's cloud-based, you need to log in. If you have a Presto website with us, it would be yourwebsite.com/admin. If you are stats only with us or don't have a Presto website, it would be prestosports.com/admin. And then you would sign in, and it's going to take you right to the game day screen. And here it'll show you active seasons by day, and you'll see the game. I've got way too many teams, so you'll see a lot of different seasons on mine. But we're going to go to the demo for soccer because that's all set up. If you click on the red season, it'll take you to the home page for the season, where you have many tabs: the overview, schedule, stats, links, roster, coaches, nav bars, etc. Two things before we get into the game. Rosters. You want to make sure that your shared roster is set up with players active and numbers put in before the game. That's what goes into the stats program for your team, for other teams, etc. Over here, you can also import from a stat crew file. You can import from a CSV. You can add one player individually and export a CSV to see what that looks like, so that you can make a CSV for the rest and then import them. But anyone who's listed here and active is going to be in the roster for live stats when you load your game. So you're going to want to make sure you're kind of performing maintenance, making sure you don't have dual numbers, and marking players who are injured and out for the year as inactive. That way they don't accidentally get stats and mess up participation and red shirts and all that good stuff. On the stats tab, looks like we don't have it there. If you need Presto Sync to send a XML to a scoreboard, you can download Presto Sync, and that will put a copy of the in-game XML onto a local computer. You don't have to have it on the stat computer if you want to have it on a scoreboard computer. They're the computer that runs the scoreboard. That way it's there for local. So if you have a video board that displays stats or whatever, you can use the live XML to pull in from there. More so for some of the other sports, less so for soccer, but we cover it in all of them. And the schedule tab is where you have your games. it would be on your game day. The main game day page would have a game you're about to start, but uh, we're going to launch a sample game here. This is the game day screen for an event, and the launch PrestoStats button is up here in the top right. It's missing location. You would type in your stadium name. You can put in um, you can put in your weather, your referees, your lines people, your official scorer, which actually will default to your login, which is nice. Um, and it also has rules at the bottom. You can mark it as a conference game, an exhibition, neutral site, minutes, overtime, um, how many periods. You can also set your custom settings for keystrokes for home and visitor. Um, if you like team abbreviations or if you like home and visitor, H and V, and you can set your clock to count up, count down, however you'd like to view it. And then when you save that, now this one says it's okay. So now we need starters. So we're going to put in 11 starters. You can just check them off here. Took Zaid less time to do volleyball. And now the stats for the other team. We need one goalie. And obviously, you'll get your starters from your coaches before the game. On this screen, you can also, if the roster is blank, you can import from a Stat Crew roster. You can grab a roster off a web page by clicking grab roster, putting copy and pasting the URL, and it'll bring in. You may need to have a little um, editing after the fact if it's got different positions, like these positions look like they were grabbed online, so it's got a 0 for back or midfield, but those won't show up anywhere. The plays themselves within soccer is it's the simplest sport that we have is there's only 11 things you can possibly do. You've got your shots, a header, which is a type of shot, a penalty shot, which is rare, fouls, yellow card, red card, corner kick, an offside call, substitutions, and then comment and game control. So if you use Stat Crew before, it's the exact same keystrokes that you can see underlined. So you type in shot, which team, which number. I'm going to pick not the goalie. And then you've got your options for where it went. You've got a save, a blocked shot, a defensive save, or a team save. Defensive save would be player, team would be um, deflected but would have gone in. You've got a post, if it hits any of the posts, crossbar, and then left, high, right, or wide for shots that miss. And then after each play, it asks you what time it was, and it's going to go based off the clock. You can start and stop the clock at any time by pressing the space bar from this screen, and then you will see it green, and you will see it moving. So on
And
your fouls,
Kevin, do you want to show also before you're done where you can see if you're connected to the internet or not?
yep, you could probably see it flash right up here. This green bubble right there indicates that you are, and it says changes saved. It does give the time as December 31st, 1969, but all you really need to know is the green bubble. It'll turn an orangish red if you're not connected. And if you're not connected, like Brad said, it will save the data to your browser. And then the next time you connect to the internet, you should see that flicker and turn green as it transmits. So If you lose internet during the game, keep going, but don't close the browser tab until you reconnect and you get the green bubble. So um, the major thing that can be a little uh, frantic as you're scoring a game is the substitutions. Um, Simply, it'll ask you to select or deselect a player. So, and it'll show at the bottom, it'll put them on the right side if they're in the game or out of the game. So we put our starters in as all the low numbers. So if I press 3 and 13, it's going to swap the two. And then a simple save for the time, and you're good. Um, and then it takes you back here in case you have multiple. So you'd have to do each one individually, straight up swaps. Um, and when you're done, you can just click add play and go back to this screen. The comment is just so you can type in anything you need to. Um, but everything else on here is pretty self-explanatory. If a penalty shot's awarded, a header is just a shot that goes off somebody's head. Um, let's put a goal in and just say number 8, goal, assist 9. And then it asks you for their season goal. So we'll give them season goal number 1 of the year, and then the clock. And then here's where you could put in a comment to describe it for the other team's SID. Now, over here on the left side, we've got the recent plays and a button at the bottom to see all play-by-play. So if you click on the time of an event, you can either delete it if you put something in incorrectly and want to start over, or you can click edit. So if a goal is scored on a mad scramble in front and you thought it was by number 7, assisted by number 9, and it turns out that number 8 actually got it in, and it was assisted by 7 because you missed the last touch, you can go in, edit that, and now it's adjusted. The only other real thing to go over, actually, let's do game control. On game control, you can start a new period which you'll do at halftime. View the players on the field. You can reset the players on the field. There's a timeout button, which I, I suppose if you've got hydration breaks and you want to mark that, you could use that for that. And then wrap up game is just ending the game. Ending period is end of the halftime and or end of uh, end of each half. For resetting the players on the field or viewing players, coming out of halftime, you may just want to reset who's on instead of having it leaving all the players who were on the field at the end of the first half because coaches may make subs and not give them to you. Um,
Yeah, Kevin, if I could hop in real quick.
sure.
It is a good idea at the start of a new half to reset your players on the field, but you also want to make sure that if there is a goalie change, that you aren't
Yep.
changing the goalie through here. Otherwise, it's not going to sync up the stats with that particular goalie that's in the game. So
Yep.
if you do have a goalie change, just make sure you are going into game control and changing the goalie, even after you simply substituting them within the substitution page is not going to allow those stats to line up.
That segues nicely into exactly where I was going with goalie changes.
Sorry about
So
that, Kevin.
no worries. Good. It shows we're on the same page. So the substitutions manages the playing time for everybody on the field. You sub a player out, male or female, and it stops counting minutes for them. It only counts the minutes for when they're on the field. At the beginning of the game, it made you designate a goalie. That's who gets the stats for when you say a shot was saved. It automatically gives it to the goalie that you've got indicated in the game. Same with goals against, shots faced, all those good stats. When you have a goalie change, you would come into game control and change the goalie, and you would pick uh, who you would set as a goalie. If they're coming in off the bench, you would say that they were on the bench and now number 30 is going into goal. After or as that happened, or once that happens, that new goalie is not getting any playing time unless you also go in to substitutions and you put in number 30, replacing the old goalie. And now that they're in the game, now they will get all of the saves when they make one, or goals against when they make one, and they'll have their minutes correct. So for goalie changes, you want to do game control, change goalie, substitution, and swap who's on the field so that the 11 on the field are having their playing time tracked. Does that make sense to everybody?
It's great.
All right. So we're going to go back to our game control. You can also use this set button to set your clock. So you can fast forward so we don't have to wait 45 minutes to reach the end of our game. So game control, end a period. We're going to end the first. Game control, start new period. We're going to start the second half. And now we're going to set our clock down to 0. And we're going to end the period. So now we're done with our full 90 minutes, and we can go into game control and wrap up game. And here's all of our steps. We've got confirmed score, PrestoStats wins. If it's 0-0, it gives you the option to start the next period for overtime. Complete game information. You need to put your duration in. So total time, 2 hours. Whoops. And then input goalie records. 1-0. Whoops. Sorry. 1-0 and 0-1. And you'd put your records in here.
Just as a note, if you do put your records in ahead of time before the game, and then you hit that finalize and update, it'll update it automatically for you. So pregame, if you want to put your the records in for both conference and overall, and you hit that finalize, it will update those for you. So you'll reflect on the box score as well.
Thank you, Nick. And then right here, you've got your print box score and play-by-play. You can also get to this from the reports window. Printable box scores with signature line for referee, and then for media, which doesn't have it. It'll show you, so referees want to check the cards and make sure that they've got that the stats of the discipline correct. And they'll sign the box score for you. And then that copy will sit in your laptop bag for 3 weeks. And you can also print your play-by-plays either by half, or by half or by full game. You can also download your files here, and send out emails, etc., etc. And let's see. The only other thing from an in-game setup, or from an in-game perspective, soccer is a very leisurely pace compared to some of the other sports like volleyball and the actual statting of the match. The hardest part is seeing across the field into the opposite corner to see who had assists and stuff. But the plays themselves are pretty simple, pretty basic. After the match, you can see, I need to move this out of the way here. After the match, back on the game day screen, it now has our stats because we marked it final. So you can see that this bar has stats in it when they were uploaded last. And there's these links here. This will show you the XML, a PDF, the JSON file, which is the raw data from our software. You can email from here as well. And then this box score link. This box score link will show you what the final box score looks like, but it also has a pull down menu where you can see any state of the game that we had. So if for some reason things go awry and you want to revert back to any different point in the game, you can. For example, if you started the second half once you reached halftime, and then once the second half started, you accidentally started overtime instead of starting the second half, you could revert back to that change and pull that up. And if you click this revert button, it is going to revert the game back to it. This page just lets you view it. It's the revert button that lets you change it. If you were going to do that, you'd want to pull up the play-by-play of what it looked like in another tab, and then you could launch PrestoStats, type in all of your plays off of here, and overcome that extra period that way. So that revert button is great because it doesn't just overwrite all of the things. It will just add your revert to the top of the list, and any change you make from that point on will just go to the top of the list. So at any point in time, you can set a PrestoStats game back to any other point in time of that game. I hope I explained that well.
It's also pretty useful if you were to go back, just trying to find where a change was made. Like say a substitution was made in error, you can go back into those previous box scores and just view them without having to actually revert the entire box score, and then you can go into the system and make an adjustment as needed.
And the one last thing that I didn't mention, under the stats tab for sending live stats to if you don't have a Presto website, or you also need to send it to another place, we have stat partners. And under the stat partners, you can check a box. We've got some destinations already preset, but like Sidearm, if you have a Sidearm website, you can put your username, password, and check there, and then it'll automatically send your live stats there. We also have some just generic FTP ones you can use. If you've got something else that needs it, like if you're streaming and you've got a program that automatically brings the XML in, you can send it to that via stat partners. If it's internet based, if it's local based, you just use PrestoSync for that. One thing of note with the stat partners is the stat partners are tied to teams and not to the scorer. So if you're statting a neutral site game and you put in someone else's information into your school's stat partners, if you're not playing in that game, it's not going to send stats, but you would have access to the other team in order to stat that game. So you would actually need to click the change button, pick them, and then edit their stat partners so it goes where you want it to go. Like if you wanted it to go to your website, even though you're not in it, that's how you would do that. And with that, everything's on the record as an official game, the box score, the stats, and it's ready to write your recap and call it a day.
We want to thank you for viewing this PrestoStats training session. For additional content, help articles, and guidance on PrestoStats solutions, please visit help.prestosports.com. For support questions, please head to prestosports.com/support.